All right, get ready to dive into Nashville, Tennessee with us today. Maybe you're planning a trip or just curious about what makes this city so popular. Either way, you're in for a treat. We're taking a deep dive into a recent article called 12 Top Things to Do in Nashville, Tennessee. Get ready for iconic music venues, delicious food, and a whole lot of history. Nashville really does have something for everyone.
You know, it's funny. People tend to think Nashville and they just immediately think country music, but it's so much more than that. It's like Nashville just has this pull for musical creativity across all genres, which is probably why millions of people visit every year.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious. We got to talk about music, the Grand Ole Opry. This place is practically a landmark, right? Since 1925, it's been the stage for some of the biggest names in country music, and over 250,000 people visit every year.
And it's not just the sheer number of visitors. It's more the fact that so many legendary musicians have been on that stage over the decades. The Opry's impact, it goes beyond just music. It's a cultural touchstone, a piece of American history. You could go in not knowing a single country song, and you'd still be blown away by the experience.
Yeah, it's like stepping back in time. Although, if you're planning a trip, you should probably check the schedule beforehand. You never know, your favorite artist might be playing. But Nashville's music scene isn't just country. You've also got the National Museum of African American Music, NMAM. This place is unique, you know. It's dedicated entirely to the contributions of African Americans to music.
Exactly. It's relatively new. It opened in 2021. But its impact, wow, it's undeniable. NMAM dives deep into the history of jazz, blues, rock and roll, hip-hop, even gospel. It tells the story about the evolution of American music, how it's intertwined with different regions and social movements. It's really fascinating.
And they've got interactive exhibits, recordings, even instruments you can try out. So you're not just reading about music, you're actually experiencing it. But we can't forget about the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Ah, the Country Music Hall of Fame. If you're even remotely interested in country music, this is a must-see. Imagine seeing Elvis Presley's actual guitar, stage costumes worn by Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn, even handwritten lyrics from legends like Dolly Parton. It's more than a museum. It's a glimpse into the heart and soul of a genre that's woven into the fabric of America.
Okay, you've convinced me. I'd definitely add that to my list. But what about for those people who just think, hey, country music just isn't really my thing? What else does Nashville have?
Well, even if music isn't your main draw, Nashville can still surprise you. For example, there's Centennial Park, a huge green space right in the heart of the city. It's like an oasis. Imagine 132 acres of lush gardens, walking trails. There's even a lake, and here's the kicker. Right in the middle of it all is a full-scale replica of the Greek Parthenon.
Wait, seriously? The Parthenon, like the one in Greece?
The one and only. It was built in 1931 for a centennial celebration. It's become a real icon in Nashville. So you're walking through this peaceful park, surrounded by nature, and bam, you come across this incredible architectural marvel. It's just one example of how Nashville blends history, art, and nature in some really unexpected ways.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So we got this amazing park, but what about the food? I've heard Nashville has a lot more to offer than just barbecue.
Oh, absolutely. And if you like whiskey, you're in for a treat. I mean, we all know about big names like Jack Daniel's, but Nashville's becoming a real hub for craft distilleries. They're experimenting with different flavors, they're using local ingredients, and creating some truly unique spirits.
So if you want to sample those local flavors, what would you recommend?
Well, you could hit up some of the distilleries themselves. A lot of them offer tours and tastings. But there are also companies like Tennessee Whiskey Tours that take you on a curated journey through different distilleries. You could really experience a range of what Nashville has to offer.
That sounds like a really fun way to spend an afternoon. But let's get back to some of those specific attractions. This article mentions the Johnny Cash Museum. It's been named the best music museum in America by USA Today 2 years in a row. What makes it so special?
It's not just for diehard Johnny Cash fans. It goes way beyond just showcasing his music. You actually get a glimpse into his personal life, his struggles, his activism. Imagine seeing his handwritten letters, personal artifacts, even stage costumes that tell a story. It's about the man, you know, the impact he had on society, the way his music crossed generations. Really incredible.
So it's more like an immersive experience, a way to really understand who Johnny Cash was,
Yeah.
not just the music he created. I like that. Speaking of immersive experiences, the Nashville Farmers Market seems like a great place to soak up some local culture.
Yeah. It's definitely more than just a place to buy produce. You've got artisans selling handmade goods, local musicians performing, and these food stalls where you can sample regional specialties. It's a real feast for the senses.
The article actually recommends visiting in the morning if you're looking for fresh baked goods. Any particular reason for that?
Well, the market gets pretty busy, especially on weekends. And those baked goods, they tend to sell out fast. Plus, in the morning, you get that early bird energy, all the hustle and bustle of people starting their day. It's a really unique vibe.
Good to know. So you've got music, history, food, and this lively market scene. Nashville really does seem to have a bit of everything. What about families? Are there kid-friendly options too?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The Nashville Zoo is fantastic. It's not your average zoo either. They've got a huge range of animals, including endangered species like Andean bears and Sumatran tigers.
Okay, so they've got the exotic animals covered. What makes it so different from other zoos?
Their commitment to conservation, that's the difference. They're not just exhibiting animals, they're actively involved in breeding programs, research, and educating the public about wildlife conservation. Plus, they've got unique experiences like a zip line that takes you soaring over the park.
Whoa, that sounds like an adventure. So we've got music, food, culture, and a zoo with a zip line. Is there anything Nashville doesn't have?
Well, they also have some truly stunning views. Have you heard of the John Seigenthaler pedestrian bridge?
I don't think so. Tell me more.
It's a landmark that connects downtown Nashville to East Nashville, and it has incredible views of the city, especially at sunrise or sunset.
So it's not just a way to get around, it's an attraction all on its own.
Exactly. It was built way back in 1907 as a railroad bridge, but now it's a pedestrian walkway, and it's become super popular for photography, picnics, even proposals. You'll often find food trucks and musicians there, so you can grab a bite or listen to some live music while you enjoy the scenery.
Okay, that's going on the list. So we've got nature, we've got views. What about nightlife?
Right.
What's the energy like after dark?
Well, if you want to experience the heart and soul of Nashville's music scene, you have to go to the Honky-Tonk Highway. It's a street lined with historic bars and nightclubs, each one with live music, from country to blues to rock and roll. It's like you've stepped back in time with neon lights, crowds, and the energy is contagious.
So it's not just the music, it's the atmosphere, the whole experience. But I'm sure all that exploring will work up an appetite.
And speaking of food, there's one Nashville experience you can't miss: hot chicken.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this. It's not just regular fried chicken, is it?
No, not at all. Think crispy, juicy chicken drenched in a fiery cayenne pepper-infused sauce. It'll light your taste buds on fire. It's a Nashville tradition, and it's not for the faint of heart.
So for someone trying Nashville hot chicken for the first time, any tips?
Definitely start with a mild version and work your way up. And be prepared to sweat. But it's an experience you won't forget. And while you're exploring Nashville's food, don't forget about the wider food scene. The city's got some really incredible chefs who are really pushing the boundaries of Southern cuisine. They're using fresh ingredients and innovative techniques.
So we've got the kick of hot chicken, but there's also this refined, elevated Southern food scene happening too.
Exactly. Restaurants like the Finch and Husk Nashville are really changing the game. They're taking those traditional Southern dishes and giving them a modern twist, focusing on seasonal ingredients, sustainability, and creativity. It's a foodie paradise.
Okay, I'm adding Nashville to my culinary bucket list. Before we move on, this article mentions one final spot, the Hermitage Hotel. Why is this place so special?
It's more than just a luxury hotel. This place is dripping with history. It was built in the early 20th century and has hosted presidents and music stars alike. And it's played a key role in some really significant historical events.
Give me an example, like what?
Well, did you know that the Hermitage Hotel was where the final push for women's suffrage happened back in 1920? It was in that very building that the Tennessee legislature voted to make Tennessee the 36th state to ratify the 19th Amendment. That was the one that gave women the right to vote nationwide.
Wow, I had no idea. So this hotel is like a living museum. You're not just checking into a room, you're stepping back in time.
Exactly. It reminds us that Nashville isn't just about music. It's about the stories, the people, the events that made it what it is today.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. From iconic music venues and historic landmarks to spicy hot chicken and luxury hotels, Nashville seems to have something for everyone.
Yeah, whether you love history, music, food, or you're just looking for a vibrant place to visit, Nashville has something for you.
But we're not done yet. In part 2, we're going to dive deeper into Nashville's unique neighborhoods and all the hidden gems that give this city its charm.
Yeah, we'll talk about the local hangouts, the off-the-beaten-path attractions, and give you some insider tips to make your trip to Nashville truly unforgettable.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we continue our journey through Music City.
Welcome back. Are you ready for more Nashville?
Absolutely. I'm still thinking about those baked goods at the Nashville Farmers Market. The article mentioned a place called Olive and Sinclair. What can you tell me about it?
Oh, Olive and Sinclair. That place is a chocolate lover's dream. Small batch, local ingredients, traditional methods. It really embodies the artisan spirit you find all over Nashville.
So, not your average chocolate bar. What makes them special?
Well, they source their cacao beans directly from small farms, and they use some really unique flavor combinations, things like smoked paprika and buttermilk white chocolate. It's a real sensory experience. You can tell there's a lot of passion in every bite.
Okay, you've officially added artisan chocolate tasting to my Nashville to-do list. But speaking of passionate food experiences, we can't forget about Prince's Hot Chicken Shack. That place is legendary.
Prince's is a Nashville institution. It's the birthplace of Nashville hot chicken, serving up fiery goodness since 1945. If you like spicy food, you have to try it.
I have heard it's seriously hot, like burn your mouth hot.
Oh, it can be. But that's part of the fun. They have different spice levels so you can choose your own adventure, but even they're mild, it still has a kick. It's a testament to the bold flavors you find in Nashville.
Okay, maybe I'll start with mild and see how it goes. But let's say I'm looking for a more, refined dining experience. The article mentioned Husk Nashville. What's different about that place?
Husk is all about celebrating Southern cuisine, but they focus on what's in season and what's local. They work with local farmers, and their menu changes all the time depending on what's fresh.
So it's kind of like farm to table, but with a Southern twist.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to experiment. They give those traditional dishes a modern update, but always stay true to the core of Southern flavors. It's the kind of place where you might discover a new favorite dish, but still feel that sense of comfort.
I like that, innovation and tradition. But let's change gears a bit. We talked about the John Sagenthaler pedestrian bridge earlier. I'm curious to hear more. What makes it so special?
Well, it's more than just a bridge. It's a landmark. It's a place where people gather. And it offers these incredible views of the city. Imagine walking along the Cumberland River flowing below you and the whole Nashville skyline in front of you. It's beautiful, especially at sunrise or sunset.
So it's an experience, not just a way to get from point A to point B.
Right. And it's a really active place. You'll see street musicians performing, food trucks, couples out for a romantic walk. It's a place where you can feel the energy of the city.
And I've heard it's a bit of a romantic spot, maybe even a place for proposals.
Oh, definitely. I think it's that combination of amazing views, the fresh air, and the city all around. No wonder it's become a popular spot to pop the question.
Okay, so we've got romance, views, food. What about a ghost story? I read that the Hermitage Hotel is supposed to be haunted.
Oh yeah, the Hermitage Hotel definitely has some ghost stories. With all that history and elegant architecture, it's the perfect setting for a spooky tale.
So what kind of stories we're talking about? Any specific sightings?
Well, there are stories of a former president who still roams the halls. And then there's the lady in white. She supposedly appears in one of the rooms. Guests have reported strange noises, lights flickering, even that feeling of being watched. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, it's a place with a certain, eerie charm.
Okay, enough to give me chills. Let's get back to music. We've talked about the big places, the Grand Ole Opry and the Country Music Hall of Fame. But for someone looking for a more, intimate experience, what would you recommend?
If you want to discover the real soul of Nashville music, you have to go to the Bluebird Cafe. It's a tiny, almost unassuming listening room. But some of the biggest names in music have played there. Garth Brooks, Taylor Swift, you name it.
Wow, so huge names in a small venue. What's the vibe like?
It's all about the music. There's no big stage setup or crazy lights. It's just the artists, their instruments, and the audience. You can feel the raw talent, the passion. It's really special. It's the kind of place where you can discover new artists, hear old favorites in a new way, and just connect with music on a different level.
That sounds incredible. I bet tickets are hard to come by.
They can be, especially for the popular artists. But it's definitely worth the effort. And keep in mind, the Bluebird Cafe is just one example. There are tons of small music venues all over Nashville. You could spend weeks exploring them and still not see them all.
All right, I'm adding the Bluebird Cafe to my list.
Sure.
So we've got music, food, history, ghosts. What about art? Does Nashville have a good art scene?
Oh, absolutely. And it's really diverse. You'll find galleries showcasing everything from contemporary to traditional Southern art. The First Art Museum is a good place to start. They have rotating exhibitions and a really varied collection.
Is there anything unique about art in Nashville, something that sets it apart from other cities?
Well, Nashville has a really vibrant street art scene. You should check out the Gulch neighborhood. There are colorful murals and installations everywhere. It's like an outdoor art gallery, and it's constantly changing.
So it's art that's accessible to anyone, not just those who go to museums.
Right. It's part of the city. It reflects that creative energy you find all over Nashville.
Okay, we've talked about music, food, history, ghosts, art. What about just getting around? What's the best way to see all these places?
Nashville is a really walkable city, especially downtown. You can easily walk from one place to another, maybe stop for a coffee or a bite to eat along the way. But if you want to explore further out, ride shares like Uber and Lyft are easy to use and pretty affordable.
And what about if you're on a budget? Any tips for seeing Nashville without spending too much?
Lots of Nashville's best attractions are free. Centennial Park, the John Seigenthaler Pedestrian Bridge, all the street art, you can enjoy them without spending a dime.
So free doesn't have to mean boring. You can have an amazing time in Nashville without emptying your wallet.
For sure. And if you're looking for good, cheap eats, try the food trucks. They're everywhere and the food is great.
Okay, so I've got food trucks, free attractions, and friendly locals who can point me to the good stuff. Sounds like a recipe for the perfect trip.
And don't forget all the free live music. A lot of the bars and honky-tonks on Broadway have free music during the day. It's a great way to see some local talent without spending a lot of money.
Great tip. Okay, any final words of wisdom for people planning a trip to Nashville?
Embrace the unexpected. Nashville is full of surprises. Don't be afraid to wander, talk to people, and try something new. The best experiences are often the ones you don't plan for.
So true. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our Nashville deep dive.
Yeah, we've seen how Nashville mixes its history with a modern, vibrant energy. It's a city that never stops evolving, but it never forgets where it came from.
Our trip isn't over, though. We're going even deeper into Nashville's neighborhoods in Part 3. We'll uncover those hidden gems and local hangouts that really give Nashville its unique character.
We'll talk to the locals, discover those off-the-beaten-path places, and make sure you have everything you need to plan your own Nashville adventure.
So stay tuned for the final part of our Nashville deep dive. All right, we're back for the final part of our Nashville deep dive. We've seen the highlights, tasted the heat, and maybe even felt a few ghostly chills, but now it's time to get into what really gives a city its personality, the neighborhoods.
You got it. Each neighborhood in Nashville has its own unique vibe, its own story. It's like exploring little worlds within a city.
So where should we start? Any neighborhoods that really stand out?
Well, if you're looking for trendy boutiques, hip restaurants, and a walkable, energetic atmosphere, 12 South is the place to be.
12 South. Okay, what's the vibe there? More laid back, or is it more of a scene?
Oh, it's definitely got a buzz. Think murals, independent shops with those one-of-a-kind finds, sidewalk cafes perfect for people watching. You could stumble upon a vintage record store playing classic country, or a bookstore with readings from local authors. It's a great spot to really soak up that creative energy of Nashville.
Sounds right up my alley. Now, what about for those of us who want to experience Nashville's music, but maybe somewhere a bit more off the beaten path?
For that authentic, under-the-radar music scene, East Nashville is calling your name. It's a little grittier, a little more eclectic. You'll find dive bars with incredible live music, indie record stores, and venues showcasing all kinds of genres, from bluegrass to punk rock.
East Nashville, got it. I'm picturing dim lights, a worn-out stage, and a band just pouring their heart out. That's the real deal.
Exactly. You never know who you might discover in East Nashville. Some of today's biggest stars got their start playing those small venues. It's a place where you can really feel the pulse of Nashville's creative undercurrent.
Okay, so we've got the trendy 12 South and the raw energy of East Nashville. What if you're a diehard bluegrass fan? Is there a spot that's like the holy grail of bluegrass in Nashville?
You're talking about the Station Inn. This legendary little venue has been a bluegrass institution for over 40 years.
The Station Inn. Okay, I'm writing that down. So let's say we've got our neighborhoods mapped out. Where do you even start? What's the best way to navigate Nashville and experience these different areas?
Well, Nashville is actually pretty walkable, especially if you're sticking to the downtown area and those nearby neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But if you want to venture further out, ride shares are definitely the way to go.
All right, good to know. Now, I love finding those hidden gems, those experiences that go beyond the typical tourist traps. Any advice on how to uncover those?
Honestly, talk to the locals. Strike up a conversation with the barista at that coffee shop, the bartender at a honky-tonk, or the people browsing the record store. People in Nashville are so friendly, and they really love their city. They'll point you in the right direction.
That's a great tip. So you're saying the real hidden gems aren't listed in any guidebook. They're found by connecting with the people who really know Nashville.
Exactly. Those unexpected recommendations, those chance encounters, that's where the magic happens.
Now, for those of us traveling on a budget, any tips for experiencing Nashville without spending a ton of money?
One of the best things about Nashville is how many of the attractions are free. Centennial Park, the John Seigenthaler Pedestrian Bridge, all the street art, you can enjoy them without spending a dime.
So you're saying free doesn't have to mean boring. You can have an amazing time in Nashville without emptying your wallet.
Absolutely. And for affordable eats, hit up the food trucks. They're all over the city, and they've got amazing food for way cheaper than a fancy restaurant.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Food trucks, free attractions, and friendly locals who can point you to the hidden gems. This is starting to sound like a perfect trip.
Oh, and don't forget about the free live music. A lot of the bars and honky-tonks on Broadway have free music during the day, so you can check out some local talent without spending any money.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for people planning their own Nashville adventure?
Embrace the unexpected. Nashville is full of surprises, you know. Don't be afraid to wander off the beaten path, talk to strangers, and try something new. Remember, the best experiences are often the ones you don't plan for.
Couldn't agree more. Well, it sounds like Nashville is a city that just pulsates with music, simmers with incredible food, and really charms you with that Southern hospitality.
It's a city where you can see history and modern life collide, creativity is everywhere, and you know you're going to make memories that'll last a lifetime.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to book a flight right now.
Me too. And remember, our deep dive is just the beginning. There's so much more to discover in Nashville, so get out there, explore, and make your own adventure.
That's it for our Nashville Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed this journey with us and that you'll experience the magic of Music City for yourself.